good for the meeting.
Yeah. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around fancy Premier League. Today's Thursday, which means Clash of the Correspondents Day. James, how are you?
I'm not too bad, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, can't complain. Do you want to introduce our guest?
I shall, but in the first instance, I shall timestamp this by saying it's actually really about 5 p.m. on Tuesday, just in case there's any breaking news in the next 48 hours that we can't cover. We are joined today, very importantly, by two of our double game weekers ahead of the FPL return. We are joined by Jonny Pringle at FPL Pringle, our Manchester City correspondent. How are you, John?
Yeah, good, thank you.
And we are joined by Adam Pritchard, king of Adam in audio, our Arsenal correspondent. How are you, Adam?
I'm not too bad, thanks, James.
Good. Welcome, boys.
This is Arsenal v Man City next week. Can I just say I already think Man City are going to win because I'm wearing a light blue T-shirt. James has got light blue on the wall behind him. Adam's come to this show in a blue T-shirt as well. Everything on screen I can see says sky blue screaming at me. So,
in fairness, Suj, did you expect me to rock up in red?
That's true.
No.
That wasn't going to happen, was it?
Yeah,
no, mate.
Never going to come in red.
No, never, mate. I get shaky about England away games. England playing in red, I get a bit uncomfortable. I just don't feel good. Suj, I reckon me and you should piss off. We should just let Jonny and Adam go for it, mate. Should we, before we start in FPL, which I know everyone's want to hear, Jonny, do you just want a brief detail on the current status with City and the C.O.T.C appeal?
Well, I've heard, just saying to Suj, I've heard nothing of the case so far. Like you said, we're currently recording at 5 o'clock on Tuesday. There's been absolutely no leaks, and I don't think there will be. I think there might be some news further towards the end of the week. Someone on either side might leak something if they get excited that they think they might have won. But like I said in my article that I wrote, we just won't know for certain for a few weeks now.
Yeah, quite agreed. Last time we spoke to you was before you played Leicester, which was obviously before the lockdown. Do you feel that the virus has had any impact for or against City's appeal in any way?
It's changed the practicalities of it. Obviously, they're having to do it via video link instead of being in a courtroom. But I've never been in a courtroom myself, luckily. So I don't know what difference that will make. If anything, I think it might have a bit of a difference on the outcome because if, say, we get reduced to a 1-year ban and next season is played behind closed doors or the schedule's changed around, it might not be too bad of a season to miss out on. But that's the only difference I can think of.
Adam, you got any thoughts on it?
Other than the fact that they're guilty.
Guilty. Everybody guilty. I was going to say exactly the same, Adam, so don't worry about it. Guilty.
Yeah, good. I'm glad I'm not alone on that. But I think it's kind of funny when you read the sort of vindictive nature with which some of the City officials were speaking about UEFA officials and how it, in my opinion, this case probably wouldn't be happening if there hadn't been such animosity between the two sides revealed in public. It's that kind of embarrassment and anger that's been brought out for everyone to see that I think is the main reason why this is being pursued, because City are the only ones that UEFA are going after with these great guns, and that's because no one else has really piped up in public or had their anger outed effectively.
I think there's something in that, isn't there? That the two parties don't like each other. It's very honest. If City could find their own breakaway and start their own Champions League, I don't personally think if everyone went with City, would be delighted not to play under the UEFA umbrella. I don't think. But yeah, I think as Jonny summed up well, it's going to be a little while yet. There's not going to be any. I don't think we'll have news before the football's restarted. So for the likes of Spurs and Arsenal, who obviously have no chance of qualifying for the Champions League, doesn't actually matter. But it may obviously have an impact on some sides above us. Would you agree with that, Adam?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, you're looking at it's a long shot for either Arsenal or Spurs to make even the 5th place, or to make the regular Champions League, spots at the moment. It feels like that top 4 is pretty nailed down, even though you guys over at Tottenham have got some key injured players back. and we've had a little bit longer to integrate into Arteta's system, I can't see anything changing personally.
I think even if one of us had a great run, it's still Wolves, Sheffield United to overcome. And I think Chelsea and United have both got better fixtures than us as well. So
yeah, exactly.
It's not
really see
like
it.
one or two. There's like 3 or 4 teams that you've got to overcome here, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's just,
Well, that's the issue. Is you've got to consider not only Arsenal and or Tottenham have to have a great run of form, but then all those sides above have to have a bad run of form. And the fixtures, like you say, especially for Man United, they've got Pogba back, and the excitement of seeing Pogba, Fernandes, Martial, and Rashford all in the same team, even as someone who isn't a United fan, that's something I'm quite looking forward to. So yeah, it's a big ask.
Certainly agree. Jonny, to start moving towards sort of an FPL head, are you going to be bothered in the league? Is kind of the first question before we talk about individual assets. Is there a chance here that being in the FA Cup, could it very much be about focusing on that and then making sure you're ready for that Champions League restart in August?
Yeah, I think so. I think priority will be on probably the FA Cup games, and I can see us taking the first few league games seriously. I mean, I completely forgot what the league table would look like, but we're 4 points clear of Leicester in third place with a game in hand. That win we had over them just before the break was actually quite a big win. So I think we are pretty comfortable in second, but it'd just be nice to get it wrapped up in the first few league games. And then, yeah, I think you're right, but it'll just be preparing for the Champions League if it comes back, hopefully.
in any normal season, if you said to me, City have Southampton, Newcastle, Brighton, Bournemouth, Norwich, Watford, Norwich, that would be 6 potential captaincies in a row for any time of the season. But it's the last 6 games where you just said that you might not be bothered. Yet at the same time, if you guys click, you could spank any of those 5-0. It's just the biggest pain in the arse in terms of rotation and what will happen.
Yeah, it has just completely put a different dimension to it. I mean, we already know how difficult the rotation was to predict already. And with games just all over the place at the moment, it's just going to be even harder. Anything I would say about, even though we probably might not take it that seriously towards the end, you'll still want to keep the squad sharp. You'll still want to keep players in form. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Even if the team is more relaxed, if there was nothing to play for, that's when you start to see some wacky results.
I think then the likes of Mahrez and Bernardo Silva might start getting minutes, and they're all priced a little bit cheaper, and they can haul as well. We've seen it before with Mahrez and Bernardo Silva picking up double-digit returns in the past. So potentially some other players might come to the fore.
Yeah, I agree.
Just to go back on your point about Leicester, Jonny, if you was in a position that, I don't know, let's just say you lost to Arsenal, Chelsea and Liverpool for whatever reason, and Leicester went above you, does that change anything? Because I can see Adam's laughing. He's like, that's not happening. I agree, by the way. But second, third, does it matter either way in any case? I just feel like City are going to be targeting the FA Cup and making sure they're sharp, ready of minds for the Champions League, I feel. Yeah,
you're right. The second and third doesn't matter, but I think City will want to be known as the second best. I think they won't want to give up the title by finishing third. They want to still make a statement. We have a second best team in the country this season.
I think we know that, mate.
Yeah.
But obviously it can, as we kind of alluded to, should have spoken about a little bit, is those final fixtures are amazing on paper, those final 6 fixtures. You could barely ask for it to be any better. And yet, are we going to be in the position of fear of captaining Aguero's or De Bruyne's or whomever? Can we? Because I'm thinking I've got to have at least 2, if not 3 of them for that run-in. But it's going to bite, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's just the same as ever. I mean, I feel like I'm useless when it comes to City FPL advice, because it's just pick one and hope they start. And it's you're just going to have to pick the ones that you think are most likely to start. But again, going back to the schedule, it's just all over the place. I just have no idea who's going to play. Even this first game, I know we're going to get onto who would you pick for this double game week, but I don't even know who's going to play then. Let's
get into it. Let's start with some obvious ones. So, Ederson plays twice, right?
Yeah.
Laporte?
Don't know.
De Bruyne?
De Bruyne, yeah, you'd like to think that he'd play against Arsenal, but then again, the game after, maybe not. I think the only player who is nailed is Ederson.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get drawn to that. I'm already kind of partly in that place as well, I think.
On Aguero, I think he'll definitely play one of them.
But not both.
The thinking in my head is that Jesus seems naturally fitter than Aguero. Aguero's obviously older now. And
10 years between them kind of helps Jesus a little bit.
He always takes a while to come back from injury or back from a break. You know, he always starts seasons on the bench, doesn't he? When he comes off in like the first or second game, and then everyone piles him into the teams. And it might happen again this time. But he just might take a while to get going.
I think my opinion on Aguero at the moment is he would likely be my captain in game week 30. And my thinking behind that is absolutely well aware that it's a strong possibility he only starts one of those games. But I'd look at it and compare all the teams with single game week fixtures and think, if you could tell me before Arsenal or Burnley, irrespective of the fixture, he was definitely going to start one of them, I would captain him over anyone else with a single game week fixture anyway. That's why I think he's the standout. The flip of that might be is, as Adam might tell us, is I presume someone like Aubameyang definitely does play twice.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. That's like, if in one of my draft free hit teams, I've got both Aguero and Aubameyang in, but I'm captaining Aubameyang because there's no way Arsenal can afford to leave him out if they've got any pretensions of taking the league even vaguely seriously, really. Whereas Aguero, I can, as an outsider perspective, but I could see him starting the Arsenal game, getting sort of 70 minutes and then being benched in the next game and not being brought on. It would seem weird from an outsider perspective to rest Aguero by benching him for that second game and then just...
Sorry, Adam, go on.
No, I was just going to say it would be weird. It would seem weird to bring him on.
You've got to think about who City have after the double game week as well, because we've got Chelsea away on the Thursday.
Exactly. And so that's why, in my mind, I've sort of been flirting the idea of going for Jesus instead, just to see what other moves that allows me with the rest of the team.
I think I still probably will go with Aguero over Jesus because I think it's a lottery either way. But I think Aguero is just more explosive. I think, as Suj knows from his exploits with Leroy Sané last season, you just can't overthink these things. I mean, last year you saw Aguero got a hat-trick against Arsenal and a hat-trick against Chelsea. And no one thought that was going to happen. Everyone predicts he was going to get rotated. But the thing sometimes with that he rewarded people the most, just the people who didn't think it through. Just thought, Aguero's got a double game week, I'm going to stick him in and captain him.
I'd like to talk about Jesus a little bit, Johnny, because since we last spoke, obviously brilliant result in Madrid, and Jesus played a very different position that night. And I think there's been a couple of games where he's sort of had this wide left forward position a little bit. And I think a lot of people might also, it's interesting you mentioned the Chelsea game afterwards, which is, it's not at the Etihad, it's meant to be at Stamford Bridge. I think a lot of people would perhaps look at that and think that's more of a Jesus fixture. Therefore, perhaps Aguero could play those first two and then Jesus plays against Chelsea. Is there anything in that with the change, slight alternation of position for Jesus where they could play together?
Yeah, definitely. They've played together in a 4-3-3. When we beat Villa 6-1 in January, they played together. And I think Aguero got a hat-trick and Jesus got one. But yeah, they definitely can. But I think the game you're referring to with Real Madrid was similar to the United away game as well, where Jesus played left wing and Aguero didn't play at all. And I think he played De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva up front, just as a bit of a strikerless formation because we were away at a big team. So you could see that at Chelsea, yeah.
Interesting. There isn't an answer, is there? Any thoughts on that, Adam, to add on Aguero v Jesus?
Like I say, I'm tempted by Jesus, but if I were to go with Aguero and not captain him and captain Aubameyang instead, that would seem a little bit bizarre for me. And that's the current setup that I have in my free hit team. So I honestly think it's going to be something, the more I think about it, the more I'm swayed towards Jesus. Just because of that, I think he's more likely to get minutes spread over both games and more minutes in the easier game, which I'm saying is not Arsenal, just for clarification.
I was going to ask, mate, which one's the easier game?
Let me just chuck a spanner in everyone's thought process as well. Don't forget, we've got 5 substitutions now. So Jesus will play 60, Aguero will play 30 minutes, Aguero will score 2 in his 30 minutes, and Jesus 1 in his 60. Just the added substitutions mean, but I saw it on the first game of the season, Aguero benched, but still came on and managed to miss a penalty and score a penalty at our place. But still, off the bench, they can do just as much damage if they do only get 15 or 20 minutes. And if I asked either of you guys, do you think Aguero will play the full 90 in both? I reckon you'd say no and no.
Yeah, I don't think he will.
I mean, I think Johnny's partly said it, isn't it? Other than Ederson, you can't be sure that anyone's going to play 180, really. So, 180. Would you then, Johnny, because I think a lot of people will have this Laporte versus Ederson decision, would you just on that basis just edge straight to Ederson then?
Not necessarily, but that's only because there's other good keeper options with Leno and Henderson, obviously. Laporte is a good option. We've seen him get big points in double game weeks before. It's just how he's going to come back, because he went off injured in that Real Madrid game. It's just whether Pep will want to sort of bring him back with a substitute appearance or something like that. But then he has played. The only inkling I've had of lineups, I know some teams have been doing their own official friendlies at the stadiums. City had one in training, and I saw the 2 lineups, and Laporte was with Garcia, and on the other side, I think it was Fernandinho and Otamendi. So he has definitely been playing. I might just, I'm in the privileged position where I can do my free transfers and then wild card after. I might just put Laporte, De Bruyne and Aguero in, just the 3 big guns, and just hope.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be close to that. It's going to, for me, I'll probably Aguero, De Bruyne plus Laporte or Ederson. I haven't decided yet. About you, Adam, are you similar?
Well, I don't have my second wild card, so it's a bit of a tricky issue for me. I think if I were to use the unlimited transfers rather than free hitting straight away, I would probably only keep De Bruyne just because of that fear of rotation. Whereas obviously if I use the free hit, I'm going to steam into the 3 of them, and I'll probably go 3 attackers as well, just to try and go all out, really.
Interesting. So you might even go something like Aguero, Jesus, and De Bruyne if you could force it.
Currently, I've got Aguero, De Bruyne, and Sterling.
Okay, wow.
I feel sorry for Raheem Sterling. I was going to say, but Raheem's getting no mentions whatsoever.
No, I just remember he was so good at the start of the season, and I know it's no sort of correlation that you can draw to now, but I figured he was good the last time he had a big rest. Maybe he'll be good now he's had a big rest.
Any thoughts, Johnny, on love for Sterling or Mahrez, like Suj said, or is it straightforward, go for these big hitters that play through the spine?
I think one thing about Sterling is there's been a lot of talk about how players will perform in empty stadiums without the pressure of a crowd. And Sterling has been prone to sort of wilting under pressure. I know away at United and away at Liverpool. I know both of these games will be at home. But I don't know if you could think of one player who's probably going to play well without a crowd on his back. You could probably say it's Sterling. But he has just been quite inconsistent and disappointing, particularly in the second half of the season. But I don't know, I'm not sure he's worth the money over De Bruyne or Aguero.
One of the things I like about the possibility of Sterling is I'm toying with this idea of bench boosting in 30, going with what I've got 31, free hitting when City play Liverpool in 32, and then wild carding in 33. And if that's the case, I probably need some sort of avenue back to Mane or Salah for game week 31 when City play Chelsea and Liverpool are home to Palace. And actually Sterling is the best route off that and still maintain your budget within a very strong process for a bench boost. So I think the closer we get, more people might think towards that sort of route, actually, particularly say like in Adam's case where you haven't got that second wild card to get out of the issue.
Yeah. And I think, we're certainly not ruling Sterling out because, I mean, he's so naturally fit and Pep plays him so often. He could easily be the player who gets the most minutes of any of City's attackers.
He could be a good differential. That I would definitely say he's capable. Adam, let's talk about your boys, because it's a little bit more straightforward in terms of selection. Aubameyang and then no one else, and we move on, right?
I don't know about that, James.
Case closed. Stop the conversation there, please. No, it's. I suppose again, it depends on what you're doing. If you're going for a free hit, it almost feels stupid not to go for three Arsenal, 3 City players, just because they're the air quotes big teams that have those double game weeks. My draft free hit team at the moment that has 3 Arsenal players in, Leno and Aubameyang are pretty certain. Leno just because he'll get a lot of save points, and I think he's been really, really underrated this season in terms of how much he's just completely saved us when we've been putting in embarrassing performances. I think mainly against Aston Villa, that home game where we only managed to win 3-2 somehow, really. He put in a really good performance that day. And then it's the question of that midfield spot, unless you want to risk it with a defender.
I think that's really...
Don't you have any hope for Pepe? I was going to say, I've been bigging up Pepe a little, and he's caught... There's something just inside me that I can put no logical thought process against, but I'm like, Pepe at 9.3, if you can't afford Aubameyang for whatever reason, it's surely a half-decent shout.
I think he's a good accompaniment to Aubameyang, but I think if you're free hitting and you don't have Aubameyang in, I'd sort of reconsider your structure, really.
Reconsider playing FPL. Just give up the whole game if you're going to free hit without Aubameyang.
I mean, I'm not one to talk really, but I think every time I've been on Clash of the Correspondents, I've recommended Pepe in some way. So it does feel a little bit odd not to do it again. But I don't think he'll start the City game. I think he'll probably start and get sort of 60, 70 minutes against Brighton. But then again, I can see Ozil starting both games. So it depends if you want certainty of minutes or explosivity, of like sort of goal/assist potential.
Adam, I think everybody just crossed Pepe off their list, by the way, mate. You didn't need to say anything more than them expected minutes. Ozil, 4 attacking returns this season to go on top of a massive 8 last season. 7.3. We know he's capable. There is a little bit of a theory that actually he's the sort of player that could really perform well in this sort of environment. Is he a bit of a, excuse the wild card terminology, but is he exactly that? A bit of a wild card one to punt, I think, more than, say, Pepe.
Yeah, definitely. Because at least with Pepe, you know that the type of skill that he's capable of producing is one that is going to sort of seriously damage opponents directly. So I'm talking about the kind of quick turn of pace, the dangerous dribble, the vicious free kick that could go in, the curler with his left boot from outside the area. Whereas the kind of sort of individual moments of brilliance that Ozil's capable of are more sort of stringing together the moves. He's not one who's going to bang in a shot from sort of 20 yards out, is he? He's not going to take 3 men on and cross it to Aubameyang for a tap-in or something like that. You're sort of relying on Arsenal as a team clicking. So if you've got faith in Arsenal as a team clicking cohesively from an attacking point of view, I think Ozil is definitely one I'd look to. And plus he's on corners. So
I'm warming to the idea a little bit with you suggesting that he'll play twice. How do you think you'll set up? Very difficult to say, but how do you think you'll set up tactically against City in terms of system?
I think it's going to be the same sort of 4-2-3-1 in attack, if we have any attacks, and then more of a 4-3-3 without the ball. So I'd see Aubameyang's obviously, I think Aubameyang will play on the left in both games. And I can see Lacazette starting the City game because it's the bigger game, and Nketiah starting the Brighton game. I think those two will share minutes quite a lot over the rest of the season. Perhaps not enough to make Nketiah a serious FPL option, but I mean, if you're bench boosting, he's probably a decent one to consider. Then, interestingly, I thought Reece Nelson started our friendly, behind closed doors friendly against Charlton. And he is one who, before he got injured, was sort of looking quite promising in that sort of right wing, willing to be quite industrious role. So it would be him and Pepe battling out for that spot over on the right. And then midfield, you're sort of looking at Xhaka and then one of Guendouzi, Torreira, Ceballos, from a midfield perspective.
Nelson is an outstanding talent, by the way.
He's so good. I remember when he was first breaking through, he was sort of hyped up alongside, or people were talking about him in the same breath as Jadon Sancho. And injuries and Sancho's move to the Bundesliga have sort of put a bit of a distance between those two. But there was serious hype around him, especially in the England under-18 setup. He was talked about so highly. He's a great player.
Do you think, just come back to Ozil, you obviously mentioned Ceballos as well. I'm just thinking there, if you go sort of 4-2-3-1 at City, probably doesn't allow for a place for Ceballos and Ozil. And if you're saying that's a 4-2-3-1 that's going to convert to a 4-3-3, I presume that puts a lot of pressure on Ozil physically as well. Or would you see the wide players in the three then coming in to almost make that like a flatter four without the ball, more so revert more to say a 4-4-1-1, for example?
That is how we've been, particularly in the home games. That's how we've been setting up. But some of those, if you look at our last home games, our last home game was against West Ham, which is not exactly Man City. So you can sort of allow Ozil a bit of a less strenuous defensive role in that perspective. But if we play people like Nelson and Aubameyang, they're quite willing to do the hard yards in the channel. So yeah, you can definitely see them tracking back. And also we've got the sort of more rigid option of playing the inverted fullbacks, so they can sort of keep that shape quite narrow and not allow too many gaps.
What about double defensive? Throwing a Luiz with Leno, something like that, or is that absurd?
I mean, on the scale of choosing Arsenal assets, it's not the most absurd, Luiz, but he would be the most likely to play both games. But if you look, it's bizarre. You look at Arsenal's squad, and it is so bloated with just kind of relatively average players. Yeah, if you can be harsh if you like.
I've got some as well, mate. It's all right. We're in this together.
But I mean, you look at sort of, you've got Pablo, we're talking just about centre-backs. You've got Pablo Mari, who's a new signing, looks like it will be extended permanently, even though it's just a loan at the moment. You've got Mustafi, who, let's not go there. You've got David Luiz, you've got Socrates, and then Rob Holding and Callum Chambers, who are just coming back from injury. So there's so many players to fill those two spots.
And you've got the lad who's going to come back from St. Etienne as well, haven't you?
Yeah,
Saliba, is it?
Saliba. Yeah. He's played very well this season, and he looks to be a real talent. And there's still murmurings of Upamecano from Leipzig as well. So
he was a beast in the second leg against us. Not that we crossed the halfway line too much. Jonny, what's your thoughts on Arsenal and generally and their FPL assets at the moment?
I think we'll start with FPL. I think I'm in the same boat as you guys in that I think Aubameyang and Leno are the immediate players who went to my mind. I think a couple of players who I thought about was Bellerin and Tierney. Bellerin's back, isn't he, Adam?
Yeah, Bellerin's back with he's fully shaved his head now, so that'll please some people who always moaned about his ponytail.
Well, David Silva was really good when he shaved head, so might have the same effect.
Please don't, Jonny, you didn't compare them two players. Moving on.
The other that hasn't had much mention that was doing okay, 4.7 I think he is in midfield, is Saka. Do you think he'll keep his spot, Adam, or do you think Tierney will just step in now?
I think Tierney will step in. It's certainly for the City game. We're going to need someone who is more used to playing in a flat back four, someone who's more experienced in, even though there'll be no crowd, those high pressure games, and used to being under sort of more intensity because he's got experience from playing in the Champions League. I think
I was about to lose all of our Scottish listeners by talking about whether or not you could really say that where he's played prior to Arsenal is that high pressured, other than maybe 3 games a year. But well, now I've said it, we've lost all our Scottish listeners.
I was going to say
Awesome.
you went there anyway.
Four high difficult games a season.
That's it.
Well,
yeah.
We're defending Rangers fans now. Go on.
Oh no, I was just going to say that I think Saka was purely a happy accident, certainly at left back. I mean, he was been very highly rated playing as a winger more traditionally, but it was only necessity that saw him filling in at left back. And whether there's a view that he can do can do a job there, longer term is one thing, but in a lot of the sort of discussions that's been coming out of the Arsenal camp during lockdown is how impressed Arteta has been with Tierney in particular. There's been a lot of sort of even public positive vibes between the two. Like Tierney's come out and talked about how much he respects Arteta's methods during the lockdown, how communicative he's been. So I think that will play a factor. And it seems like there's a good relationship between the two of them, certainly, from my perspective.
I've got one more name I want to throw your way, Adam, considering we haven't mentioned yet. Xhaka. And I mention it from a budget perspective in terms of he fills in, he'll probably have the 2 games. Am I right in saying that particularly perhaps if Ozil is not on the pitch and Pepe, he could be on some of the set pieces? Can you look in any way? Would he be a better choice than Saka, for example? Xhaka and Saka?
No, he wouldn't be. He wouldn't be a better choice. It's a fairly simple one to answer, I think, because if, like you say, if Saka plays, I think his potential is so much higher to get returns. Whereas with Xhaka, you are relying on the 1 in a million thunderbolt strike from 30 yards, or the fact that both Ozil and Pepe aren't on the pitch for him to take any set pieces.
All right.
Sorry about that.
No, I think we're all in agreement definitely on Arsenal that Leno and Aubameyang, for anyone who can wildcard away from unlimited or is going to free hit, then Leno and Aubameyang are going to be the first 2. I can't see people looking different to that. That's why I think some are going to look away from, say, Dean Henderson, for example, because I can see that Leno and you bring Ederson back into the conversation there. We were speaking a bit about it on Tuesday. Like, is it 11 million too much for Ederson and Leno? Well, not if you're going to bench boost and come straight off it. It's not. No, not at all. It doesn't matter, does it? And I think a lot of people will lean that way, especially when you've got, say, the security of the Sheffield United guys who you know almost definitely will play twice and have fixtures that are more attractive in terms of their possibility of clean sheets.
Yeah, definitely. I think in sort of just a general wider point on Arsenal, I do think Arsenal will be one of the sides that benefit most from this extended break. Not necessarily in terms of the players that we get back, because other than Tierney, I think Tierney and Torreira are the main 2 who will seriously alter the structure that we could play. But if you think about the time that Arteta took over, he took over December in the busiest period of the season. He's had no time to sort of take a breath, consider his options long term, consider the sort of intricacies of the style of play that he wants to implement on this side. He sort of, although he has definitely made his mark, he has to a certain extent been needing to fight fires and consider the short term. Whereas this almost acts as like a mini pre-season for him, which I think will certainly help.
Interesting. I think, as I said, Leno, Aubameyang through the spine of Man City, defensive Sheffield United. We've nearly picked the free hit team, haven't we?
Yeah. Should have made it a Patreon special, lads.
Listen, I'm adding you boys. I told you that. Grealish, you throw in. You're nearly at the team, aren't you? I think. And there isn't anything, unfortunately, I think, from Arsenal, like the budget ones, the third one, so like talking about the Xhaka, Saka, even at Ozil's value, doesn't entice me, I don't think. What do you think of that Brighton fixture, Adam?
In terms of likelihood that we'll win, I really don't think Brighton are that good. I kind of forgot where they were in the table. I was wooed by the early season sort of Trossard, Graham Potter loving that everyone seemed to have, because they played really well on the opening day, and then I think I personally forgot that they had quite a bit of a slump in terms of their form.
I mean, teams from North London haven't fared well down on the south coast so far this season, so if that's anything to go by.
Yeah, I was going to say, we didn't exactly put a great performance against them, but there aren't many teams we have played well against this season, to be honest. Like I said earlier, I can see Nketiah starting that Brighton game. That would be, like, in terms of rotation that I'm expecting, that is one that I am certainly expecting. Martinelli, I've seen a few people talk about from an FPL perspective, and I think he's an unbelievable talent as a player, and I think he'll come on leaps and bounds next season. Whether or not he starts that game is TBD for me, because he's best out on the left, which is where Aubameyang is playing. So if Arteta thinks he can have enough in the tank with Nketiah, Martinelli, and likely Pepe on the other wing, and then know that you've got those 5 subs to bring Aubameyang on at half time if things aren't going well, then it's certainly one to look at. But Nketiah would be that sort of, in that third bracket that you were talking about just a second ago, James. Nketiah would be the one for me.
Okay, interesting. Well, one thing about Nketiah is it really does open up the doors quite comfortably to go Aguero and Aubameyang and then Sterling, for example. I think if you want to go down that route. So interesting. Jonny, just thoughts briefly on Burnley, which is the second game. And obviously there's a nice little 5-day break before the 2 games before I realise you do then walk into quite a tight schedule. Historically, am I right in saying it's a fixture you've done very well in, really?
Yeah, we usually slap Burnley about. Even going back to like 2001 when Sean Goethe was scoring hat-tricks against them. Yeah, I can't remember what the result was last year. I think we beat them 5-0 at home. No, I think you know what you get with Burnley. They'll come and be stubborn. I don't know how seriously, again, we'll take it. You might see it as a game, yeah, but we might rest people for Chelsea.
I think the fixture at Turf Moor is one of the better performances you've had this season. I think of that game and the win at Villa. And obviously Jesus started and scored. I think he scored twice in the Burnley fixture. He certainly scored the opener, I remember, and played well that night. Is there anything we can read back into that?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, he had a good game that night. I remember he scored the worldie, like you say, for the first goal. I am one of them people who does quite like to look at how players have gone on historically in fixtures, and yeah, it's maybe something you could read into against Burnley.
Aguero, as we know, has a very bad record against Arsenal. Sorry, Adam.
Who from Man City does have a bad record against Arsenal? I honestly can't think of one.
It's got to be someone, mate.
Even our own ex-players have good records. Yeah. I'm pretty sure Nasri scored a few.
I didn't want to bring up that you were a feeder club for a while. You did, mate. Cool. Is there anything else you boys specifically want to add that we might have missed off that?
Leroy Sané's back.
Go on, Jonny.
Leroy Sané's back for Suj.
Yeah.
I mean, anything in it? Can we look or not?
Don't know, because you don't know how he's going to be, because I think pretty much every ex-City fan has accepted he's going to Bayern Munich now.
So, the only reason I won't buy him, the only reason I won't go near him is because of that transfer speculation. Just makes me think his head's going to be elsewhere, and if it's behind the scenes done and dusted, then I think Pep might just leave him be on the bench. If that talk wasn't there, I'd be straight on Leroy Sané.
Yeah. Where are you at with strategy, Jonny, for FPL? Do you know what you're doing?
I think so. I think I've got my bench boost, my free hit, and my wild card. So I think I'm going to use obviously the unlimited transfers and bench boost, and then wild card straight away. So an interesting strategy from someone before who said maybe free hit in 32, so you get 2 game weeks worth of data before playing your wild card, which isn't a bad shout.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm on the route of you, but I'm thinking of suffering 31 because I'm going to have bits of Liverpool and Wolves. And actually, I don't mind, for example, Villa playing Newcastle. I don't mind that fixture, even if I have some of that. And Arsenal got Southampton. So it's not that bad. If I've still got City, I'm not bothered about that against Chelsea. So I think at the moment, I'm leaning towards bench boost, suffering 31, free hit 32 and avoiding City versus Liverpool when there's other teams. Admittedly, Arsenal, a very attractive fixture against Norwich. And in game week 33, the fixture run swings massively for all of the current top 5. They have a great run. And I think then you've got the knowledge to know which ones you're going for. So, yeah, at the moment, I'm wildcard 33 is what I'm leaning towards.
Yeah, and you don't have the panic of having to come up with 2 teams in your head for the deadline, because that's basically what you'd have to do.
Sorry, Adam, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say one thing to consider is that Arsenal do have the FA Cup tie against Sheffield United in between the Southampton and the Norwich games, which if you think perhaps Arsenal are very unlikely to get European football, there's European football at the end of the FA Cup. So
one of the things we mentioned on our Patreon podcast about the Norwich fixtures, obviously you play Norwich in 32, it's 4 days after the deadline. So you play them on the Wednesday, the deadline's the Saturday lunchtime. So we're all thinking we go captain Aubameyang and we're all going to vice captain Jimenez, just to be sure, mate.
Yeah, well, it could be a way, but then again, you could see if Aubameyang's played however many games, like if he's played all the games up until then, which I could see him doing. Maybe Norwich at home is the time you rest him.
Do you think, like City, the FA Cup could become a bit of a priority for yourselves as well?
I mean, it's the competition. I'll be honest, I kind of forgot we were in the FA Cup. I assumed we had been knocked out. Which says something about our season. But no, it's the competition I'm more interested in from a fan's perspective. And I think if you look at it objectively, it's the more realistic route into Europe. And it's a piece of silverware, which would be a very bizarre way to end a completely bizarre season.
I would say good luck, but that would be a very bizarre way to end this podcast, Matt.
Before we started recording, we were just chatting off air, and you were scratching your head, mate, about what you're going to do in terms of free hit and bench boost, and they're completely not 100% sure. I'm with you on that at the moment. So when you decide what you're doing, just let me know so I can copy you, because I'm in that bracket of which way, left or right, blue pill or red pill. No idea yet.
Suj is going to do something wild. I know it.
Yeah, it's brewing. But
just get Sane, mate.
The strategy that you're adopting, James, now thinking about it, in terms of free hit in 32 and wildcard in 33, will have very few people adopting that strategy now as well.
No, but we've just said it.
Yeah, and there are people that copy blindly.
Yeah, I don't know why. They obviously don't know about our FPL history. Yeah, for new listeners, we're not experts, just so you know. Play it your way.
There we go. We always end the Clash of the Correspondents with a cheeky prediction on what's going to happen. Johnny, what do you think next week?
I have no idea. I've got a back City for a win, haven't I? So I'll go 3-1.
3-1. Yeah, it is at your place, so potentially. Adam, what are you thinking? Scrape something out of it?
It says something that me being optimistic is saying 2-2. If I'm optimistic, I say 2-2. Realistic, probably 2-0 City.
And pessimistic? We may as well chuck that one in there as well if you're going to.
No, let's not go there. It could. I mean, it could be quite bad. It's one of those games that has the potential always to be quite bad from an Arsenal perspective.
I think that's one thing, and that City have been so inconsistent this season, but Arsenal gave us a really easy ride in the fixture at the Emirates this year.
We just wanted to make Mikel feel welcome.
I think one of the keys is going to be if City score early. If City come out of the traps and go for it and score within the first 10 or 15 minutes, then I reckon a comfortable 3-1, 3-0, 3-1 probably for City. But if you keep it tight and it gets close, like level into the halfway through the second half, then I reckon a 1-1 draw might be possible. I think it's going to hinge a lot on how City start the game. What are you thinking, James? You're going to back City, I know.
I tell you what, yeah. Obviously, it'd be silly not to back City to win. I don't think it'd be silly, but I can foresee a scenario where City win against Arsenal and Burnley, sort of 2-1, 3-1, both games actually, which will upset a lot of people. And I wouldn't say Arsenal winning at Brighton is a stick on either, actually. So, yeah, it could just be a disaster, basically.
There we go. Gents, thanks for joining us on Clash of the Correspondents. Whenever we do Clash of the Correspondents, we always think we'll make it a nice half an hour podcast. Always ends up being long because there's so much to talk about. So we appreciate your time to come on and chat to us and let the listeners know what they need to know about your two clubs, especially in this interesting double game week.
Thanks very much, gents.
James, you want to let everybody know what we've got rest of this week?
Yeah, I'll stream on YouTube Friday, bit of Champ Man again Saturday, back to normal service on Monday. I don't know what we're going to do Clash of the Correspondents next week, because technically if we do the Thursday, it'd be a bit dated. So I'll speak to some of the guys, we'll come up with an idea.
Yeah, indeed, we will. So if you are listening to the audio, wherever you're getting your podcast, whether it's iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, make sure you hit the subscribe button so that you get up to date with all of our latest content. You can do exactly the same on YouTube. Hit subscribe and hit the notification bell, and you'll know as soon as James starts his live streams. Other than that, it just leaves me to stay safe. Thanks again, gents. Ciao for now.
Thanks, lads. Be nice to each other, everyone. Cue music, man, child.